The Steam Autumn Sale has hit, and it's time to dive into what survival games are on sale. Here are 50 brief overviews of those games. DayZ, the apocalypse never smelt so lonely. This is the definitive open-world survival game set in a post-Soviet country ravaged by a new mysterious infection. Scavenge, build, and try not to trust anyone else on the map. Find out if you can make it in this hardcore survival game with a 50% discount right now. This Is How You Died will be the start of every adventure in Project Zomboid, a top-down sandbox RPG where death is inevitable. You're dropped into a zombie-infested Kentucky with the simple goal of surviving as long as possible. The challenge is brutal, the crafting is deep, and every action has a consequence. It's on sale right now for 33% off. HumanitZ Zombies? Pfft. Try fighting other survivors who are also desperately trying to eat. An open-world co-op survival game where you must scavenge, craft, and build safe havens in the world where the undead are just one of the many threats. Get on Steam right now for 35% off. Aloft, a floating island? That's just my sailboat. A cozy feel-good survival game set in the clouds where you can just transform any island into a flying ship to explore the vast, storm-ridden skies. Build a dream home and take care of your animals in solo or co-op and grab your wings with this game and get 20% off. Voyagers of Nera takes place in a huge open oceanic world where you have to gather the spirits that seem to have scattered while trying to figure out the mystery of this place and why you got summoned here with no recollection of your past. In this game, you'll build surfboards, go out to sea with ships, and fight dangers both above and under the water. This game is coming at 20% off. Dune Awakening, a massive open-world survival RPG where you attempt to survive the harsh desert planet of Arcus, avoid massive sandworms, building a shelter, and master the spice. This game comes out with 20% less. In Icarus, it's a beautiful alien world if you ignore the everything wants to kill you. A session-based co-op PvE survival game where prospectors drop down onto a terraforming planet to complete the missions and then extract before the devastation storm hits. Along with plenty of other game modes, this is definitely one to play with your friends, coming in at 80% off. Craft the World gives you godlike power meets grumpy dwarfs, a unique sandbox strategy game mixing Dungeons Keeper, Terraria, and Dwarf Fortress, where you control a tribe of dwarves, commanding them to dig, build a fortress, craft items, and defend against monster waves. Command your horde in this game and get it for 75% off. Dead by Daylight, a 4v1 multiplayer horror game where one player is the unstoppable killer and the 4 other survivors are trying to repair the generators and escaping the killing round. This comes out as 60% off. Hunt Showdown. Picture a cowboy, a swamp, and a giant spider demon. A total no more Tuesday, right? This is a competitive first-person PvPvE bounty hunter game set in the Louisiana Bayou. Hunt terrifying monsters, secure the booty, and then fight other players trying to take it away from you. This is 50% off, and if you want to hear more about this game, look in our description below. We actually have a full interview with Septic Falcon. Stalker 2. Radiation mutants? No problem. I'm here for the loot. An immersive first-person shooter, survival, and horror hybrid set in the post-apocalyptic Chernobyl exclusion zone, you are a stalker searching for artifacts in the world of dangerous anomalies, faction wars, and you enter into the zone trying to go along a storyline. It's right now at 30% off. If you're a lover of old school RuneScape or even the new school RuneScape and just love RuneScape in general, then RuneScape Dragonwilds is the game for you. It is a survival game set in a classic fantasy MMORPG experience, focusing on exploration, crafting, and dangerous high-stake encounters with dragons and so many other creatures. This game allows you to specialize in certain skills or be a jack of all trades if you play solo. When you play with your friends, you're going to be able to tackle and push past many of the barriers that you need to do. This game comes in at 20% off. No Man's Sky. Now wait before you judge it. The game did have a failure of a launch, but the game has been seeing consistent updates over the years, and their latest update introduced cruisers, which are pretty much homes up in the sky and in space for you to be able to travel on and do a lot of cool things. They've also introduced tons of other new mechanics, such as getting your own frigate, having the ability to build a home, and so much more. If you ever wanted to play this with your friends and just truly give it a try, it's coming at 60% off in the sale. Rust is a game where you wake up naked, cold, and then there's a guy running at you with a rock. This game is a ultimate hardcore open world survival experience game where you fight not only against the NPCs and fellow players, but you end up fighting against the radiation and so many more things that actually stagger your progress. But don't be deterred by this. Rust has a huge amount of ways to build your base, defend your base, and explore the ocean as well as the tunnels underneath the island. Pick this game up for 50% off. Sons of the Forest, the sequel to The Forest, in this open-world survival horror game, drops you into a remote, cannibal-infested island where you have to build, craft, and explore alone or with friends, or go deep diving into the caverns and find what secrets lie around the island, because there's more to this game than just surviving against the elements and the cannibals or mutants. This comes at 67% off. Uplift a colony of refugees, but only after your one-legged space pirate prisoner has a mental breakdown and eats your dog? A sci-fi colony simulator driven by the intelligent AI storyteller that generates unique, tragic, or hilarious stories and conditions for you. You manage your colonists with complex backstories and traits, and you may even give them a couple of their own. Get this for 20% off. This new game called SurrounDead, it's not just zombies, it's the isolation and the survival sandbox game focused on an immersion and a simple yet brutal survival loop in a persistent open world. Scavenge, build, and try to make sense of what's happening around you, and don't get overwhelmed by the undead. Go ahead and get this for 50% off. Satisfactory, a factory building game that will either soothe your soul or lead you into eternal OCD organizational mode. It is a first-person, open-world factory building game simulation where you exploit an alien planet's resources to create massive, intricate automation systems built with the perfect pipeline, coming in at 30% off. Palworld, a cozy game with animals to find and help you with chores around your base, but with guns and forced labor. A multiplayer open-world survival crafting game where you collect mysterious creatures called pals, fight alongside them, force them to help you build your base, or even just turn on your fireplace. Sometimes you can eat them, but you can all definitely take them in and bring them to your home with just 25% off. I'm a huge fan of the Dying Light series, and Dying Light 2 Stay Human Reloaded Edition is on sale. Parkour is my therapy, and the zombies are just my stress balls. An action RPG set in a massive open-world post-apoc city where you're just an infected survival skilled in parkour and brutal first-person combat. Free run and fight for your way, coming at 67% off. Grounded is a game that took the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids into a survival game you can play. A co-op survival adventure where you are shrunk down to the size of an ant and must survive the perils of a serpent background filled with massive, terrifying insects. You'll have to go through the story, find out what really happened, and possibly get yourself to the normal size once again. It's coming in at 50% off. Forget all of the drama surrounding Subnautica 2 and take a look at their first game, Subnautica. The ocean is a calming blue, right up until a huge leviathan tries to eat your submarine. This is the best way I can describe the game in one of my stories. But it's a underwater survival adventure game where you crash land on an alien planet and must explore, build bases, and craft equipment to survive the deep, as there's tons of different things going on in the world, such as alien architecture, trying to find your way off the planet, and seeing if other survivors have survived. But as you're going around to the deep recesses of the ocean, be careful, because other things go bump in the night. This is coming in at 67% off. Enshrouded, the fog is coming. Bring your axe and your friends. This co-op survival crafting action RPG is set in the fallen kingdom of Ember Vale. You must venture into the mysterious Shroud to fight fierce bosses and many of its henchmen, build grand halls, and uncover the kingdom's secret, all while building and working with the entire voxel world where everything and anything can be built. I've seen towers from Lord of the Rings all the way to the halls of Moria, and yes, even some spaceships. Your imagination is your only limitation, with Enshrouded coming off at 20%. V Rising. I'm a vampire, and all I want to do is build a spooky castle and avoid the sun. In this open world survival game where you play as a newly awakened vampire, hunting for blood, building a gothic castle, and fighting both moral and supernatural enemies. Buy your way into this deal for 50% off, and yes, I wanted to do a pun with this, deal with it. Don't let the graphics fool you on this one, but it's quite a gem. Terraria. It's like a 2D Minecraft, but with more boss fights and more exploding bunnies, and may I say more. But this is the description of it. A sandbox adventure game that blends the freedom of sandbox construction with the depth of a classic action RPG progression, featuring deep crafting, exploration, combat, and digging deep for that 50% off in the sale. Valhiem. Beard optional, mead mandatory. A brutal exploration and survival game set in a procedurally generated purgatory inspired by the Viking culture. Build longhouses, craft epic weapons, and summon the mythical bosses of the 10th Norse world in this voxel open world survival crafting game, coming in at 50% off. 7 Days to Die might be a game you still want to try out. And every 7 days, the hordes come and your beautifully crafted home turns into toothpicks as you fight against these massive hordes. But don't worry, they gradually increase in size over time, so you have plenty of time to fortify up and defend. This is a unique blend of open-world survival, first-person shooter, tower defense, and a role-playing game. Savage, craft, and fortify before the blood moon, or at the end of the 7 days, the horde descends, fortifying you and trying to take you out. This game comes in at 40% off. Planet Crafter, a lonely journey to turn a barren rock into a breathable paradise for science. A space survival crafting game where you must transform a hostile planet's ecosystem from zero to a lush, breathable environment, and you face many challenges along the way, such as finding resources, fighting possible problems, and even dealing with environmental dangers. This one comes in at 45% off. Aska. I'm not just a Viking. I'm the CEO of this new Viking village. A demanding co-op survival and tribe building game where you must manage an intelligent tribe of NPC villagers, assign jobs, build a self-sustaining settlement, and prepare for the harsh winters and ancient evils. This is coming in at 40% off. This game takes heavy inspiration from the books and movies of The Lord of the Rings because it's set in its universe. Return to Moria is a survival crafting game set in the 4th age of Middle-earth. Delve deep into the dwarven homeland of Moria, mining, crafting, and battling the evils that lurk underneath the mountains. Goblins and orcs are the least of your issues. Get this deal for 45% off. The Forest. Plane crash? Bad. Cannibals? Worse. My kid is gone. If this sounds a lot like Sons of the Forest, it is because this is the prequel to that game. And it is also an open-world survival horror game where you must survive on a remote forested peninsula after a plane crash. Build shelters, explore caves, and defend yourself against a society of mutated cannibals. This game comes in at 75% off. From the makers of Don't Starve, Oxygen Not Included is a space survival where the greatest enemy is, well, air management. It's a space colony simulation game where you manage your colonists and help them dig, build, and maintain an underground base while dealing with the air, water, and power shortages that you're going to have to face as you grow bigger and go deeper. Breathe easy with this coming at 66% off. Medieval Dynasty is where you start from nothing to building a thriving city, where everyone is helping each other out and you are the king ruling all over them. But you're really not a king. You have to end up paying taxes, you end up having to make people happy, give them the tools, and help them spread the seeds. But in this open world crafting survival game, it blends the building and the life simulation in a beautiful way, and it is so much fun trying to complete the tasks that you have assigned to you, hunting, and still while taking care of your villagers. This game comes in at 40% off. Atomfall. Welcome to 1960s Britain, where the nuclear fallout has turned everything weird. This survival mystery game is set in a quarantine zone in the 1960s, years after a mysterious nuclear disaster happened. You have to scavenge, craft, and uncover the truth behind the cover-up. In this game, it's all about fighting the people and learning more about the game. Crafting comes pretty easily, but the enemies are not so easily thwarted by just brute strength, you have to think. This game comes in at 30% off. Left 4 Dead 2. Zombies, bring 'em on. I got a frying pan and 4 friends. The classic co-op zombie shooter battles through hordes of the infected with 4 unique campaigns, new weapons, and special affected enemies, and it is a paradise to play with your friends. This comes in at 80% off. Conan Exiles. Survive, build, and then make your enemies work for you. That's the Conan way. This is an online multiplayer open-world survival game set in the brutal lands of Conan the Barbarian. Build your kingdom, survive the elements, and dominate your enemies. This game comes in at 75% off. Don't starve together. Everything is trying to take you out, but at least you have your friend to share in the suffering, right? The standalone multiplayer game of the uncompromising wilderness survival game, Don't Starve. Fight, farm, build, and explore together in this whimsical dark world. Just don't go hungry. This game is coming at 66% off. Bellwright. Framed for murder, time to start a revolution and build a city to hide in? This open-world survival and town-building game set in the medieval realm. You have to recruit followers, manage settlements, lead armies, and uncover the truth behind your wrongful sentence. This game comes in at 20% off. This game at the very beginning will test you and push you to the limits of being able to survive in its world. Kenshi is a massive free-roaming, squad-based RPG set in the ruthless post-apoc world. Be a traitor, a bandit, a warlord, or just a survivor. Build up your settlements and try to be able to take care of things in this isometric, brutal, and grindy game that once you get past the I'm going to die from everything, becomes a beautiful and wonderful game to try out. Get it for 60% off. Timberborn. A post-apoc city builder where beavers have replaced humans and they are thirsty for wood and water management. This city-building game featuring industrious, water-loving beavers control one of the two beaver factions and survive droughts by building dams, irrigation, and massive wooden structures, all to be able to enjoy the survival. This game comes in at 40% off. Astroneer. I'm a space explorer, and my mission is to collect colorful balls and turn this planet into a giant playground. This is a sandbox adventure game where you explore and reshape distant worlds during the 25th century's intergalactic age of discovery. Dig, build, and most importantly, try not to run out of oxygen, with this game coming out in 67% off. Scum. It's a reality TV show about brutal survival and you're a celebrity if you measure out well to disembowel a chicken. No, really, it's an open-world multiplayer survival game with unprecedented levels of character customization, from metabolism to the movement of crafting and combat. You have to work through all of these things, and it highly pushes you to work with others and collab with your friends to be able to progress through this game. But don't feel threatened as a solo player. You can definitely do all of those things just by yourself. The game comes in at 50% off. The Long Dark. It's just you, the Canadian wilderness, and 1,000 ways to die from a frozen toe. This thoughtful exploration survival experience set in the frozen wilderness after a geomagnetic disaster. No zombies, just nature, cold, and a constant search for warmth and food, and the perfect place to stay to keep doing that. This comes in at 50% off. Soulmask. I put on a privileged mask and now I have superpowers to build a giant, beautiful, and fully automated tribal base? This brutal open-world survival sandbox game where you assume the power of a mysterious mask, each granting you unique abilities, tame natives, build a clan, and explore a massive world. This comes in at 30% off. If you loved Frostpunk 1, the dangers, the conditions, the harshness, the votes, the absolute destruction that can be wreathed from your bad or good decisions, but they're up to you to decide which ones they were, comes Frostpunk 2. Your surviving the eternal winter was easy in the early game, but managing the political chaos after is the real storm. This city builder sequel, where you lead a resource-hungry metropolis 30 years after the catastrophic blizzard, focus on social survival, managing factions, and passing laws to prevent total civil collapse. This game builds upon the previous game's mechanics, abilities, and refines them to more beautiful ways of handling stuff, as well as introduce new mechanics and new ways to enjoy the game. Definitely have to get this, coming at 35%. Dwarf Fortress. Now I know what you're going to say, Dwarf Fortress isn't a survival game, but I do have to point out that it is very easy to lose the game, and one of the game's motto is, losing is fun. Dwarf Fortress tests a lot of your abilities to not only manage, but also set up defenses, be careful enough to know that you may dig into a geyser or just dig into a massive lake. There are so many ways for you to be taken out in this game, but there are so many ways for you to build beautiful things, trade, flourish, and overall survive. But like the game says at the very beginning, eventually you will lose. Dig into this at 20% off. Pacific Drive isn't your normal survival game. It takes the emphasis on the player and puts it onto the car, making it so you have to maintain the car while you're going through the zones and trying to fight off the random craziness that might just take half of you one place and the other half of you somewhere else. The game is a beautiful color spree and it has so many ways to enjoy the game in this story-driven RPG. Now, I'll have to say, it comes in at 50% off, and their newest expansion that's coming in the future might make you want to pick it up so you can have that expansion. It comes in at 50% off for the core game. Back 4 Blood is the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. It's 4 people, a lot of guns, and truly unsettling amounts of gore. A thrilling cooperative first-person shooter, with the creators of Left 4 Dead making it along battle-ridden in a dynamic campaign with a unique card system for extreme replayability. Join up in the massive wave and have fun with your friends in this group game, coming in at 90% off. Forever Skies. This is the premise. There's a space station, everyone's sick on it, and you are being sent in after a team was already sent down there to find the cure. Everything from there, once you crash into a skyscraper and realize everything below the skyscraper is dangerous dust, and you need a good oxygen tank and other abilities to craft. So you end up finding a old broken down air balloon that the previous people who came before you ended up making, and you improve this as you go along in the survival game. Definitely have to take your time and enjoy this game because there are so many fun things to find. This comes in at 30% off. Green Hell is one of the best survival games I have ever played. From the ability to get leeches on yourself, to tigers waiting in the woods, and tribals stalking you at first, and then eventually trying to take you out. It has a sandbox mode where you can play and survive as long as you want, and it has a full story version of survival as well, going along a narrative. The game overall is amazing, and the people who made it are amazing as well. They're called Creepy Jar. They're working on a sci-fi survival game called Star Rupture, but for right now, Green Hell is at 75% off, and you definitely need to pick it up to enjoy this beautiful game. I can't recommend it enough. These 50 survival games on sale just barely touches the tip of the iceberg in this autumn sale. There are so many more sales going on with survival games that we haven't covered, as well as even more games that aren't survival at all. So keep your eyes out there, leave a like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys the next time we cover DayZ or Project Zomboid. Ta-ta for now.